And before we'll start the program for this evening, let me briefly quickly tell you what's happening next few days. I'll take a minute so that if you missed it by any chance, please don't forget to attend or watch it online. Like tomorrow, we have an online program. We have a speaker from Delhi, Nirupama Subramaniam. She will be talking to on becoming powerful and unlocking your potential. And this is an event we organize under the Women Business Forum. She's a co-founder, managing partner of Glow, and very, very powerful speaker. Please don't miss it to watch it tomorrow online at 6 o'clock. As usual thing, and also Zoom is available. Then Friday the 16th, we have a discussion on service uninterrupted, and it's all about success story of a very senior IAS officer, how he was chosen from chief secretary, then to become a governor of a state, then multiple thing, and how he could do all this, and he's going to be sharing his experience. And we have very, very high profile thing. M.M. Rajendran is one who is going to be there talking on that. We have Honorable Justice Suresh Kumar, then we have Dr. Somanathan, Finance Secretary, we're talking to us online from Delhi, Nawab Prince of Arcad, Mallika Srinivasan, again Chairman CEO of TAFE, Mr. Shankar, former Chief Secretary of Tamil Nadu and Chief Vigilance Commissioner. So we got a very high profile people sharing their insights. I really urge upon young administrators and especially students, come and listen to these gentlemen, how good they have become such a good administrator in their career by what they did and how they followed. It's a very interesting program. If you are not able to come in person, please do. If you have to come in person, you must register because we are already full house for this event. 19th, we have managing National Defense Post 62. Why we do this? You know what's happening in Galwan, Tawang, and so many things are happening with China. And what is India? Is prepared in terms of Atmanirbhar? Nothing to do with India defense issues. It's something to do with how well we are prepared. As a nation, if we're not well prepared defense-wise, we're not equipped very well, and how is it going to impact us? And we got, again, outstanding thing, Air Marshal Matheshwaran, one of the finest fighter pilots, who dealt quite a bit with China. Then Balamurgan is an outstanding scientist, head of Audi Tank Factory. He's done some phenomenal work. Stanley Jani, who is the international editor of Hindu, and Satyamurthy, who is an policy matter specialist from thing. So this is an event happening in person on 19th year. 22nd, we have again an event on Read and Grow on the theme of the book, What Matters is Measure What Matters. Very, very important. It's very good. Again, an outstanding panel. Then Friday 23rd, we have a seminar on India at 100, the growth trajectory for banks. This we're doing jointly with Institute of Cost and Works Accounts, and also with, it's all about the banking sector. We got all the MDs of Indian Bank, couple of other banks are joined to us. And also, they want to talk to us about stress management, stress not personal, stress asset management, and number of other issues. And it'll be very interesting. I can assure you, it's evening at 5 o'clock followed by dinner. Then we have on the 28th, again, nice event and very interesting book on free ice cream. How you can make something available to everybody, not freebies, free, by doing something innovative. This author is, again, it's come from Australia. Very interesting thoughts we thought we will share. Then on 5th of January, one last one I'll tell you, maybe two more. Building robust academic and entrepreneurial ecosystem. We got again an outstanding speaker, Professor Ashwin Magalingam. He's from Faculty Department of Civil Engineering from IIT Madras. He's going to be talking and sharing how IIT has turned around, bringing in so many entrepreneurs such. When compared to all the IITs, IIT Madras is one which is leading in this area, along with IIT Research Park. So he's going to be sharing. I urge not only the students, all the educational institutions, the dean, faculties, we are really sent an invite to you. Please do come and attend if you're really keen to promote the entrepreneurial ecosystem in your organization. The last one, a friend you're going to talk into on decoding India. Charting is pathway for sustainable growth. Naveen Unni is a partner of McKinsey. They have done a lovely publication. Morning. Coming to today's topic, very, very thing, and all the time we are discussing about statistics, quantity discount, and I am one, though we are a commerce student, statistics used to be very, I never used to get sleep next day statistics exam. But we have an expert, one of the finest person in statistics is going to be talking to us, relevance of data science across all functions. And when Madam Nalini spoke to me, he said, it's nothing to do with statistics. Data science is much less or much more than. So she made it so simple. All the students who are watching, she has also kindly agreed to interact with the students here after a talk. Do interact with her. How you can say you can make career out of statistics, this subject, and which is really a growing subject today. And if you Google it and see data science, it says the amount of opportunity. Some of the people starting salary is 1.23 crores for a data scientist, and how analytics and so many things are helping. It's better to do that. And we have got a very outstanding panel again. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the distinguished panelists for this evening. Professor Nalini Ravishanker, Department of Science, University of Connecticut from USA. Gopi Kotishwaran, again a co-founder, Cardiac Wellness Institute, and to deliver the welcome address, we have our Senior Vice President, K. Mahalingam. May I request you please to take your place on the dais, sir. Nalini, Gopi, and Mali. I think there are big round of cheers to our distinguished panelists for this evening. The format of the program for this evening is, I'll request our Senior Vice President to deliver the formal welcome address. Thereafter, introduce the Chairman and the Speaker, and the Chairman will set the context, and we'll request the author to speak, request the Speaker to speak on the subject for 20-25 minutes, followed by there will be interaction Q&A. And as usual, all the audience watching this program live, you can send your question to the number which is flashed on your screen. All the people who are present here, keep your questions ready so that when the microphone is passed on to you, please stick to your questions and no statements, and because we all want to pack up in time, you also get back in time. Anyway, time rain may come, I suppose. Now, let me have the privilege of welcoming Mr. Mali, popularly known as Mali Mahalingam. He's a Senior Vice President of MMA, and he's also the Managing Director of TS Sons. And he's got a number of other organizations, other companies. Then he's not new to MMA. As a Senior Vice President, he's the one person who is vibrant and who is inspiring, who keeps pushing us to. And one area where he focuses personally and where we are excel very substantially is an area of CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative, where we cover a couple of schools, and he's the one who drives that initiative. And we've done some phenomenal work in the field of CSR. You would like to know, visit our website and watch it, and you'll know how we are transforming. And our focus is almost 2/3 of the people who cover is our girl students actually, and who are so brilliant, and we are so happy to work in this field. And thanks to Mali for all the support. I request Mr. Mali to please deliver formal welcome. Mr. Mali.
Good evening, everybody. Warm welcome to all of you. It's a nice, pleasant December evening in Chennai. So a warm welcome is in order, I guess. Otherwise, in summer, a warm welcome is not necessarily welcome. A cool welcome would be more appropriate. Relevance of data sciences across all the functions. Let me start by saying that's not my core competence. I hardly understood statistics, I never understood data science. So for me today, it's going to be another day in class, maybe in school or college. Welcome all of you. Let me start by welcoming the distinguished panelists, Professor Nalini Ravishanker and Gopi Kotishwaran. Just a couple of lines on them. A PhD in statistics from Stern School of Business and a professor at University of Connecticut. Huge respect for anybody who's managed to complete a PhD in statistics. Huge respect because very few people, borrowing a line, me and Gopal and all of us are discussing, anybody who can have the same felicity to speak in numbers and words has to be special. Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence, Professor. Yeah. Welcoming Gopi is a little tricky for me. There are biases because I know him and he's a friend. But honestly, if you look at his track record, I think he's been to all the institutions most of us would die to give our arm and leg to go to. IIT Madras, IIM Calcutta, pardon the modesty for a moment. Then IMD Switzerland, Advanced Managed Program in Harvard. The leading multinationals in the world, Johnson & Johnson, Philips, and then CEO of India's cutting edge data analytics company, Venkat, Latent View Technologies, with his friend Venkat, who is also another friend. So I think you have a renowned academician and an outstanding professional on stage today. I think we couldn't have asked for more. Thanks both of you for being there. By the way, to shed modesty for a moment, I share one thing with Gopi. Both of us went to IIM Calcutta, me lots of years before Gopi did. But thanks Gopi and thanks Prof Nalini Ravishanker for doing this for us. Thank you so much. Just a little about MMA before we go off. MMA started in 1956. Has had a illustrious track record. I think the 13th year running we were awarded the Best Management Association, 8,000 members across 10 centers. and even during COVID, we managed to keep the interest going by going online. Viewership as high as 30,000 viewers which I come out for programs. So MMA is for me a revelation in which an organization like this, and thanks largely to Vijay Kumar and his team, and thanks largely to past presidents like Gopal who helped us facilitate this program. Thank you, Gopal, and welcome to this evening. Welcome all of you. I'd like to welcome all the members who are attending this, members who are watching it online, others who are watching it online. I would like to thank KAS who supported our initiative all the way. On the topic of the day, I said I know very little, but I hear that data is the oil of today. I don't know if oil is so cool as it was when this was said, but given the fact that data is the oil of today and data powers the world in whichever way, so we have maybe a geologist and a refiner here, people who are able to understand the theory of oil and somebody who can extract value out of oil. I think both the theoretician and the person who monetizes, Gopi is extremely good at that, I know for sure, and I'm sure Prof Nalini Ravishanker is a great expert on the subject. So we're going to have a fascinating session, I said, with this kind of brain power on the table here. Welcome all of you. I'm sure you'll have an engrossing session and a more importantly an educated session. I sure will be a lot richer on this. Thank you and welcome all of you. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mali, and it's my privilege to introduce the speakers. Mali has already covered most of the points. I'll try and cover what he missed out in respect of both the speakers. As he mentioned, Nalini is a professor of Department of Statistics at University of Connecticut, and as mentioned, she had PhD degree. What he said is so scared of PhD. I'm so scared of statistics only. Why PhD? And Nalini has over 3 decades of academic experience, and is passionate about research, teaching, and mentoring students statistics. And first thing she came and asked me, how many students can I interact with them? So much of love for the students, and I tell really students who are come, you are blessed, better interact with them and get all your contacts with them. She has received numerous awards and honors and many editorial positions and over the years, and committed to continuously promote statistics and data science as a stepping stone for success in different domains. Very warm welcome to you again, madam. It's a privilege to. Then we have the privilege of introducing Mr. Gopi. Popular Gopi Kotishwaran is a co-founder of Cardiac Wellness Institute. Is a leading company globally. Is, as Mali mentioned, is worked in a number of leading companies around the world, Johnson & Johnson, and also the companies, all healthcare issues with Philips headquartered and wellness name, and also he joined Direct Life. And he was also CEO of Latent View. You know, how many of you know Latent View Analytics? He recollected when Latent View went public, what happened is still a record. So he's got stocks. I know then he's really well off. He doesn't have to work only, but still very nice that you're holding the stocks and continue to do the thing. Gopi is engineering degree from IIT Madras and PGDM from IIM Calcutta, an MBA in the president's list from IMD Switzerland. He recently completed his advanced management program at Harvard Business School, and presently is a co-founder of Cardiac Wellness Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome to both, and it's a privilege for me to introduce them. And I will request now Gopi to set the context and introduce us. Over to you, Mr. Gopi.
Thank you very much, Captain, and I should say special thanks to Mali for the wonderful introduction. We are here because I had an opportunity to interact with Professor Nalini a few times, and so I'm so excited to have this conversation. Before we get into that, I should thank, since so many times you guys mentioned my educational background and so on. So Mali was my senior in IIM Calcutta, and when I relocated back to India, I came back without a job. We just left Netherlands and came back to India. People like Mali were so supportive in landing us back in Chennai. It was unbelievable. Gopal was my senior from IIT Madras. And obviously I didn't know these gentlemen before. I've heard of them, but I'd never interacted with them. They've been so kind to, how do I say it, to help me land. I'd never worked in Chennai before. My career was mostly Bombay and then global. So when I came back, these were people who helped me land here. So I first like to thank them before going into introducing or adding a few lines about Professor Nalini, because I heard two of them mention they're scared of statistics or worried about statistics or scared of statistics. And Professor's mission is to make sure nobody's scared of statistics, right, or data science. I heard her say, she said, data science is not just for data scientists, data science is for everybody, right? That's her point of view, and she explained that at the end of this session, she's not going to show any of those fancy equations and all of that today, but her objective is to make sure you demystify this and all of us understand that data science is very easy and all of us can use it in our lives in a very, very easy fashion. That's the idea. So let me start with how many of you have a smartphone, right? If you have a smartphone, right? Does the smartphone tell you at some point how much screen time you've used or you've been looking at it? That's data science, right? You're already using data science. So you should get some data about your own business like that, irrespective of what role you're playing, what company you're running, or whatever you're doing. If somebody gives you that information saying, hey, you worked smarter today compared to yesterday, you are, any of those things falls into data science. And what I would really want to see after the discussion with Professor is that you ask yourself, every one of us in this room, ask ourselves the question, how can I use data science in what I am doing today, now, right? At the end of this session, I would want to ask the question saying, how can I use data science in the role that I'm doing now, right? So that's the question we should ask ourselves. And professors, so we have, after the talk, a few discussions. I have a few questions for her, but more importantly, your questions. If you have any, let's have a lively discussion. And post which, she's open to receive emails or anything from you to discuss this further. I should add a few points about her. One is she's very passionate about mentoring students and junior faculty, right? She leads they have introduced a new program in University of Connecticut, MS in Data Science, right? And she's instrumental in bringing up that program. It's an in-person program this year, and next year it's also an online program. And I would say that's the expert. So if any of you or any of your friends, family, any of your employees want to do a MS in data science, I would say look at University of Connecticut seriously, and also please reach out to Professor Nalini to understand more about what else can be done and how can we go with that. And I want to just say a few words before handing it over to her, which is about data science and how it's being used across all functions, right? So as when I was with Latent View Analytics, we were providing data science services to multiple Fortune 500 firms. And we could see companies using it in sales, marketing, HR, finance, manufacturing, supply chain, customer service. And most of these places, people are using data science. Some of the pure play companies, like if you take a Google or a Apple, because they're end-to-end digital, they tend to use data science more than the other companies, more traditional companies, but everybody is using data science, and I would urge that each one of us use data science as we move forward. And there are examples for this, and I think she's going to take some time to explain some of those examples, but with that, I just want to hand over the floor to Professor Ravishanker, and I want you to make the best use of her time here. Welcome, Professor.
Thanks, Gopi. And can you all hear me? Let me start by thanking in chronological order everyone who is responsible for me being here to address you guys today. I'll start with our very dear family friend, Gopal, who conceived this idea and said, hey, do you want to talk about data science at MMA? So that's how this whole thing started. And then Captain, as he's being referred to by everybody, and that's what I should do, has been facilitating this entire process. And I've been talking with Gopi as well. And thanks, Mahalingam sir, for introducing the entire program. And thanks for, last but not least, thanks to all of you for being here to hear about what I want to say about data science. It may not actually gel with what you have in mind, and that is not surprising, because even today I don't think many people agree on exactly what data science is, or if someone is asked to define data science, there is a precise definition as one would have for calculus or geometry or one of those things. Nevertheless, let me tell you what our perspective is, and feel free to interact later. So what is data science? I would say that data science is an emerging discipline with plenty of job opportunities, right? Especially for people who are employing other people or people who are entering the workplace, right? As in the job market, this should be good news. It's definitely good news for people in my university to be taking data science as a career option. So data scientists are trained practitioners. The operative word is trained, so that you are trained properly in doing the things that are relevant to analyzing data in the best possible way that facilitates good decision making. So, how are these people trained? At least in the United States, and I know that in IIT Madras and MOP Vaishnav, where my friend is the principal, I know they are starting data science programs. Really good ones, yes. So there are undergraduate or graduate degrees in data science now, and in the US it has become ubiquitous. Every university has a data science program of one sort or another. Now, how can you think of data science? I urge you to think of data science as a tripod. And that is what the National Science Foundation wanted us to think about data science as. It's a tripod whose legs, right, the three legs can be thought of as statistical methods which help in uncertainty quantification. This world is full of uncertainty. Your businesses are full of uncertainty. Everything is full of uncertainty. And statistical methods enable us to quantify uncertainty. Computing algorithms, right? Computer science. Computer science is what gives us efficient algorithms. So, if computing algorithms and statistical methods pair up, then we have a really coherent discipline where we have efficient algorithms for handling complex, big, humongous data, streaming data, any kind of data that is now coming into play in different disciplines. And we can do efficient decision making, we can forecast, we can do all of those things under the blanket of mathematical statistics or probability, so that you have confidence in what you are doing. It's not ad hoc. This is a very disciplined way of doing things. And the third leg of this tripod is the domain discipline. So this says that you could be running a marketing firm, an IT firm, a cybersecurity firm, a finance operation, whatever it is. Any operation that produces data, and you want to analyze it well in order to make decisions, then perhaps you should think about this new discipline that is cropping up called data science. Okay, so I would say that good data scientists are definitely very savvy data analysts who facilitate decision making under uncertainty. And earlier it used to be the case that there were data engineers who did all the warehousing and, they brought the data, cleaned it up and brought it to the table. And then the data was passed to the analysts who did all the statistics and computer algorithms. But that division is kind of becoming fuzzy now. Today, if one of my students joins an industry as a data scientist, he most likely has to do some data engineering as well. The point being that the courses that are being taught currently also pay attention to this aspect. And they also need to talk to one another. It's not like one person is in one corner of a building and the other person in another. No. So like I said, many universities are offering undergraduate and graduate degrees in data science now, and that is to populate the workforce. This is like the #1 job now, at least in the United States. Everybody and their cousin is looking for a data scientist who is trained well. So for like Gopi said, we just started a master's program in our university last year, and we are also going to start undergraduate degrees next year. Okay, so students, pay attention. Everyone, at least I think, is looking for to hire data scientists, and if they are not doing so, they will do so with certainty in the next few years. So if you train yourself, you will have a job, I'm sure. Okay? Right? So I'm going to just go. The idea is, like I said and Gopi said, there are tons of places where data science is being done these days. So what I thought I would do with Gopal's suggestion is just a couple of scenarios that I have worked with and I'm aware of, and then doesn't mean these are the only places where this is happening. So I'm going to talk about IoT. We all know what IoT data is. And I'm going to talk about an IoT data analysis where the IoT data came across time. So this is time series analysis, and this was for an insurance firm. So this is for insurance loss mitigation. And this is a collaboration with a company called the Hartford Steam Boiler, which is in Hartford, Connecticut, near my university. And I've been working with this company since 2019 on this project. So this is something that they gave. This is their ad, if you will. This is the background for this SME, small to medium enterprise IoT program. So they say that their solutions will arm you, meaning the client, with leading edge technology and real-time data to revolutionize your business, right? So these are the kinds of ads that if you are a firm, you can put out, and if you are an employee, you will probably see happening. This particular project concerns freeze loss mitigation. This is something quite alien to Chennai. Where are we going to get pipes freezing? But this is a very, very common problem in the cold parts of United States, where the water pipes, when the temperature drops, can freeze, break, and your whole house or your whole building is flooded. And that is a catastrophe for the client. It is also a catastrophe for the insurance firm, which has to pay out huge settlements, right? So the whole idea from the insurance firm's point of view is, what can I do to the client's place to kind of bring down this risk of freeze loss? And so here is the idea. So there is a small fee. HSB will install sensors in some locations in the building. Yeah? Somewhere where it can detect the temperature. Then the clients will have to monitor it, right? The client where the thing is installed will have to keep monitoring it. The temperature inside the building will be transmitted back to HSB. So there will be engineers and other analysts looking at their dashboards and computers to see how these temperatures work. In case they see a potential for a freeze, so the temperature gradient, right, it keeps going down, then they would alert the customer. Maybe a telephone call, maybe a text message. This is called an alert. Then they sit and hope that the insured person will take action. Hopefully go raise the thermostat in your house so the place warms up or something like that. The problem is, no client is going to take the time to call HSB and say, hey, thank you for the alert, I've just fixed the problem. No. So HSB is left guessing. And here is where they seek help from a data analyst, right? They're basically saying, all I know is what the temperature trajectory looks like. I also know what the outside temperature looks like. They came to us and said, you call yourself time series experts. Can you guys use just this information and tell us, can you tell me how and when to alert the customer, first of all? And second, can you tell me, by just looking at the data before the alert and after the alert, whether the customer at that end could have taken action or not, right? So it seems like a tall order, but that's how data science works. So they came to us, and this project was a joint venture between people in computer science and statistics. So I was involved with the head of the computer science department, who is also a Tamilian. His name is Sankudeva Rajasekaran. He and I formed a team with our graduate students, and for the last 4 years, we've been tackling problems like this. So like I keep saying, data science in my mind is a successful collaboration between both these groups of people. So anyway, here is, this may or may not be relevant to you. The data range is 2020 to 2021, just the winter months, if you can see. And there are a lot of sensors, right? And then we just have to look at it. These are over 38 states in the United States. Then we have to look at the parent companies, the device locations, meaning kitchen, basement, office, all kinds of stuff. You have other metadata like this, is what I'm saying. And then this is, again, it's just a mobile app. I'm not going to talk about that. So this is exactly what I said before. And we said the insured receives an alert. The insured goes to the property to raise the temperature. Then the insured will acknowledge the alert was received and they corrected it. That is the hope, right? The problem really is that none of this may happen. So this is why, as I said, we need to address this problem. So what was our solution? What our team has done over the few years is to integrate machine learning methods. That's what CS is, right? Computer science, we always talk about machine learning, and statistical inferential methods to produce effective alerts. So if you guys can think about it, suppose you guys are sitting in your house trying to watch a movie, maybe Ponniyin Selvan, right? Watch a movie or take a nap or something, and then this alert keeps coming. False alarms, right? You get really irritated. It's just like crying wolf. Next time a real alert happens, you will say, that guy has no other work, he'll just keep alerting me. So when I say effective alerts, we mean alerts which are not false positives, which are not false alarms, right? So we came up with a method to modify an existing machine learning algorithm to reduce the number of false alerts. That is one of the things we did. The second thing we did was to detect insured action. I told you, after the alert, the pattern of your data may change or may not change. So we compared the before data with the after data, again using statistical ideas, to say whether, with a high probability, we think the customer took action, or no, this customer did not take action. So for students especially, what I have in red is a brief look at the methodology. So the methodology we used is called causal impact methodology in a Gaussian process modeling framework. The third thing that we did is, imagine there are thousands of sensors and they keep growing every week. We can cluster the sensors according to the behavior of the temperature. So we can say, okay, out of the 4,000 odd sensors, 600 behave one way, 400 behave another way, and so on. And that is also useful for a variety of reasons. Here we use data science algorithms. They are called nearest neighbor methods, right? We use these kinds of methods to see how to cluster the algorithm. And all of our work is generally coded in Python or R. This work especially was Python code. So I'll show you a few pictures before I move to the next topic. So the first deliverable, better alerts to customers. Do you guys see the pictures here? So this is one of the sensor nodes. The external temperature is in blue. The internal temperature is in red. So obviously the temperature, this is October to February, so the external temperature is quite low, right? You see you're going below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the freezing point. So, you're going down, so there is always the possibility that pipes might freeze. But then the internal temperature is of course higher because we all live in heated buildings. So definitely it is higher. But you know that there are points where this part, where do I see? This part where this temperature, internal temperature is dipping, right? But then it hasn't still gone below 32. But for some reason, we are beginning to suspect that it can go further, and the customer is alerted at this point. So this is an alert point. And then suddenly after this, there seems to be a jump up, and then it's starting to fluctuate again. So basically what we think is that this point maybe the customer took action, right? That is probably what we will try and detect and find out. So anyway, so this obtaining this alert was through this isolation forest plus algorithm we developed. I just put this in, but just 2 sentences. So we use something called data thresholding. We use something called a distance-based filtering. And we cleverly used the correlation between outside temperature and inside temperature to do the kinds of things that we were doing. Yes, there are lots of equations, but I don't show any equations here. The second deliverable that I told you about is to detect customer action by just looking at the temperatures. So there are 4 scenarios that you can see here. And maybe you will have access to this online, and then you can at leisure see whether you can detect which of these scenarios will help you understand whether customer took action or not. So here we label this. So we label this a true positive. Somebody who is in medicine would also understand these notions. So you have a true positive, a false negative, right? Everybody gets the idea. False positive and a true negative. So a true negative means there is nothing happening, right? And you guessed as such, there was nothing happening. But then of course a false positive is something you don't want to do. And the whole idea is, if you have a true positive, right? If you have a true positive, is something detected. So the blue line is actually what is happening. And this blue line is lying well outside this pink band, which is where things must be if the behavior was normal. So the whole idea is, statistically we determine a region where things would be if things had been normal. the actual temperature is outside, and therefore we call it as, yeah? Okay, so these are the kinds of things that we talk about, and then I'm going to skip this. The third thing that we do is, I said, clustering sensors, and if students don't know what nearest neighbor methods are, it's a good time to go learn what nearest neighbor methods are. Nearest neighbor methods just look at neighborhoods. Take a particular point and then see who are the neighbors, right? And then based on the neighborhood system, you come with a distance metric and you say somebody is close to me, somebody is not close to me, right? Then people that are close to me come into the same cluster, people that are far away belong to different clusters. Very, very heuristically, that is what is happening. And so we were able to cluster the different IoT, the temperature data into 6 different groups like this, and even eyeballing it, you can see this is a typical thing from them. You can see how these things are very different, right? And these kinds of things are useful. They are useful for people analyzing the data. We'll talk later about why this could be, perhaps, if people are interested. So our method also allows us to come up with new clusters, like new data comes in. They don't have to fall into the same groups as before. They can form new groups. They can start forming new clusters, and our method allows you to do that. And week by week, we start learning. So this is a dynamic learning process where we have used all kinds of things, right? We have used isolation forest, we have used clustering methods, we have like nearest neighbor clustering methods, we have used causal methodology and so on to understand all of this data. So in summary, I would say that although I took a very simple example of IoT temperatures that an insurance company is using, the methods are very general and they are very fundamental, right? And we have our code now. So if somebody on this audience has data that you think is similar to the high frequency data that we have our code and Python code on our GitHub link that people can leverage and try and apply and see if it works. So this can be applied in many, many disciplines, and our students have kind of automated this for the company. They are in the process of finishing up. Gopi, shall I just finish the next example also? So the second example will be very quick, and this is in the marketing domain. I don't know if people are familiar in this audience with marketing stuff. So this is the usual thing about, okay, the firm gives promotions. How effective is it? To which kind of customers should I give promotions? Should I stop giving promotions? Those kinds of questions, right? So this is the promotion effectiveness. This data is from a leading personal care manufacturer. Of course, they are spending lots of money and they want to know, did the jump in revenue justify the increase in promotional spends, right? So were they evaluating their promotional effectiveness properly? Can they quantify it? Can they quantify promotion effectiveness for different time periods? See, that is the new thing we are bringing to the table. Overall, I guess people know what to do. But if suddenly in the middle of one quarter or in the middle of 1 month, they want to know exactly what is the promotional effectiveness to date, can we do it? And can we do it in a hierarchical way for different retail outlets, different channels, different regions, and so on? And then can we same thing, right? Promotional spends, how can you optimize it? So here is the data description. There's a spelling mistake, I meant channels. So in India, this is data that I was working with. This is in collaboration with a company called Cogitas. It's a Mumbai-based consulting company. And the reason I got involved is one of my UConn's alum, Balaji Raman, works here, and so he reached out and we started doing this work together. So basically the selling is done on 4 sales channels: general trade wholesale, modern trade, and super stock list. And the data is monthly over 36 months. So the previous thing I told you was a 15-minute data over a long period of time. So that is high frequency data. This is just monthly data, the kind of data many retailers might use on volume, sales, price, number of retailers, etc. Okay, and there are about 15 or 17 regions in India, like Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, stuff like that we were looking at. So as data analysts, the first thing you do is visualization, right? So the first thing we do is these bar graphs. So we kind of look and see what is the regional distribution. The x-axis is, of course, all the regions in India. And then the y-axis, they are labeled by, they are color-coded by the channels. So you can see in which state, which one is dominant and so on. And then you can also do it by region and channel. And of course, young people, they know to do a variety of lovely graphs. So yeah, I'm probably very old-fashioned and I would do something like this, but my students would rock. They would come with all kinds of fantastic graphs. And then this also looks at how there is spikes followed by depression, and people here are much more knowledgeable about this than I am, and they would know that if there is a promotion, right, we all buy 20 shampoo bottles and keep it at home, so the stocking effect and all that kind of stuff can happen. So we are going to be looking at trade promotions. Trade promotions are discounts given to retailers to increase distribution and not to the end customer. So we're looking at trade promotions here, so deep or shallow discounts. And of course, we know that you want to understand this because, you know, if you don't understand this, there are adverse effects. So this is what we did. For different products, we modeled the sales in week T, week by week. So if you are a firm who is just aggregating, I implore you to try doing it as a time series analysis, because I will show you that there is advantage in looking at data as it comes over time. So we modeled the sales in week T for 104 weeks under 4 channels for 17 regions. We actually build dynamic statistical models. I won't say too much about this except to say that, except to point out that people who are interested in this kind of stuff, students especially, this is a 2022 book that we did. It's freely available on GitHub, so you guys can go look at it, and the code is there as well. So I think one of the things that is happening worldwide, I don't know if you caught on, is people are starting to put everything for free. Gone are the days when people were very proprietary about things, right? Now people are willing to share the method, share the code. A lot of the books are being available for people who want to read them and so on. Okay, so we basically do a time series analysis by saying I can do this across time, across regions, across channels. And so we basically did, everybody here probably knows regression analysis. So think of dynamic modeling as regression analysis where the regression coefficients can be changing over time. I can allow the coefficients to be estimated differently at every time point. That is dynamic modeling in a nutshell. So we have 3 steps. We first built a dynamic joint model for the 4 channels, week by week. Then the client believed that a unified management could be cost saving. So here again, what you're hearing a data scientist do is a lot of dialogues with the client, right? Because we are not doing any analysis standalone. We are reacting to the client needs. So if the client gives us a mandate, we think of the best way to implement the client's request. So we clustered different regions. So maybe big states, right? belong to one cluster. Smaller states with certain philosophical leanings in retailing can be another cluster, and so on. And then we used similar statistical models within each of those clusters. So I'm saying the model that you build for Tamil Nadu need not be the model you build for Gujarat. They could all have their own little models, and you're still clustering them together. Okay? So the dynamic model, this is the most important thing. The dynamic model identifies time periods of above average and below average impact. Because keep in mind, our goal was to see I'm spending millions of dollars on promotions. How much is this promotional spend impacting the sales of my product, right? And we are able to assess which periods of time the impact is high, in which periods of time the impact is low, and for which channel is it high, low, etc. Okay, so this kind of deep dive will help the firm understand better, and you can track your promotional dollars, right? You would put it where it biggest bang for the buck. Yeah. So one deliverable was dynamic impact of sense by channel and region. Like I said, let us quickly take one look at this figure. Here we have the blue dotted line is the actual amount of promotion spends. You see it's going from negative to positive. That's because I standardized those numbers. So this blue dotted line is the actual promotion spends over the 56 times 2, right? 50, how many weeks are there? 104 weeks, right? And then these are for the two regions. Even here you see that the promotion spends look different for the two channels, right? For the GT versus GTW, the spends look different. And the green line is what somebody who is naively estimating would estimate using a regression set. So if you did not do a time series analysis, you would estimate this green line and you would go back to the firm and say, that is your impact, right? Whereas the red line, the red curve, is what our dynamic model does. Do you see how this red curve is in fact reacting dynamically week by week to the promotions?
Could you be closer to the mic? People online can.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, okay, let me repeat. So the blue dotted line is the actual promotion spend, and the green line is the static estimate. And you notice that that is constant over time. The red line is the one from our time series model. And as we expect, it changes over time. So let us, for example, look at the GTW. Let us look at this GTW. We see that after week 70 or so, the promotional spends keep decreasing quite rapidly. The impact from the static model remains the same, whereas the dynamic model is in fact going down to reflect the trend. Those are the kinds of things that this kind of model will do for us. So the deliverable 2, like I said, is you can study the impact over time by region. So we can in fact tell the firm for which time periods they have a gift with pack promotion. It had higher returns in the modern trading channel across regions, or the product with pack promotion had better returns in the GT for larger markets, right, etc. So we can do all of these slicing and dicing with the kind of models that we build. And then we can create dashboards for firms, right? They would like to do that. I think their people would just like to click channel, click region, and then see exactly what is happening. Those kinds of things can be done, and they would get their ROI calculations. So this dashboard will give them everything. So internally would be all the analysis that we do, and the final output will be the ROI and then the marketing person or whoever is in the company can take a look at this and say, okay, if I did this channel, this region, and this time point, what is this ROI impact? That kind of stuff. Oh, I did something else. Okay, so in summary, I would say that this is one example. We can also do this for e-commerce platforms, which is really coming up these days. And we can dynamically measure the impact on sales, identify campaigns that deliver healthy ROI, etc. Okay, no, so dynamic time series modeling is now becoming a routine part of data science, and many data science programs are kind of teaching these kinds of things because it is very relevant to any industry where data can be collected over time and you might want to look at it. So let me end the talk by giving you some broad strokes of data science. So data, when you think about data, you want to understand the data. Data wrangling is a common term we use. Then the next step is modeling. We want to develop an effective analysis, modeling framework to tackle the questions. Computation. You want to be coding accurately, but with speed, right? You cannot take 10 days to do one project, right? It has to be minutes or seconds if possible. Then dashboard. In almost every situation, the firm would expect the data analyst to help with the automation and create a dashboard with some interactive tools for their folks to use. So when you think about it from a professor, from an academic's point of view, I would say, what are the outcomes that people like me see from collaborations like this with industry? So first of all, we advance the science because we develop new methods, correct? Every time someone from a firm comes to us with a problem, and that problem cannot be solved by existing methods effectively, there is an opportunity to develop new methods, and that pushes the science forward. And we can also develop code, which is very useful, right? Imagine everybody on this universe keeping on coding the same algorithm over and over again. What a waste of human resource. So code is developed and shared. Therefore, people can use code that has been available. Then automate the methods for deployment. That is also a useful tool for our students to learn. We train grad students in data science for the workforce. And we also produce publications to push the science so that any of our work that was done have been written up and they exist in the public domain. So how are industry-academia partnerships healthy? So firms like HSB or Cogitus can partner with academia, right? Like the UConn data science program that we have. Now, how can that happen? The firms can provide interesting open problems which can be used as course projects or as capstone projects. We can select good students to serve as summer interns in these firms. Eventually, internships in the United States at least convert to full-time jobs if mutually there is satisfaction. If the student does well and the firm likes the student likes the firm, they hire. There is a high probability that that student is hired at the firm. We can also engage in consultancy projects, which in turn could lead to publications, which in turn could, it's a good cycle, I think. That's all I have. Thank you. And I'll take any questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor. That was really nice. Both the examples were bang on in terms of how data science can actually help solve industry problems. Before I hand it over to the floor, I have two quick questions for you. One is from a management perspective. So, how can a company engage or what kind of problems should I be able to, can I bring to you so that we can engage to solve, for instance, if I'm worried about losing my clients, the key customers that I have, are there signs where you could have alerts for me saying, watch out, this customers could potentially leave? Problems of that nature, if I need to engage, what would be the right way of doing it, or is that a problem that your university would be interested in taking up?
I can't speak for my university. There is a lot of academic freedom, as you know, and definitely any faculty member is fully able to, and if they are willing to engage with anybody. Yes, I personally have also talked about churn. If you're talking about churn, right? Yeah, there are many well-known models for churn, but of course, what methods one uses will depend on the kind of data that you're able to give. But in general, my feeling is that even if the person that you're talking to in academia is not immediately at time zero able to give you a solution, with a little bit of thought, usually my thoughts come when I'm driving to and from work, right? And I don't even know if I've missed a signal or not. But yes, so the answer is approaching people that are willing to collaborate. I would be very surprised if you did not find somebody who could find a solution by working with you.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, thanks. And the second question was from a student perspective. What kind of expectations do you have of students when they apply for the data science course in Masters?
It is not an individual expectation. My university, as well as any other university that starts these programs, they would have some gateway, they would have some gatekeeping, right? Otherwise, one of the ideas that many US institutions have is to make it as open as possible. So we are not saying that only students with statistics undergraduates or computer science undergraduate degrees should apply. No. The whole point is to set up a curriculum where, for example, in my university, we have just calculus 1, which is differential calculus, right? And then some statistics, an intro course in statistics, and some training in R and Python. But then we also found that if students do not have this, I mean, some quantitative literacy is definitely necessary, right? Because I am going to be talking, as you see, quant. But then we also offer, and many universities do, they offer an intro to data science course, which kind of levels the field. So you come in, there might be people who have taken all kinds of calculus and all that stuff, and they can code in Python like whizzes, and there might be others who are just barely starting out. But the intro to data science, we hope, will make them at least all minimally competent, so that when they start taking the courses, they would catch on. My own experience this year has been when I taught an applied statistics for data science, there was deep silence for the first few weeks. Anytime I would ask a question, the class would just stare back at me and I was scared. But then you would be surprised at how things changed. And towards the end, if I ask a question, there are 6 hands shooting up, and now I have to choose who to ask to get an answer. So yes, I think students are very resilient and they catch on very fast.
Thank you. So for my first question, the answer was just write an email and we'll help you out. For the second one, as long as you have a quantitative aptitude, then the university will take care of you and provide you with the skills needed. With that, I'd open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, yes, please.
Good evening. It was a wonderful presentation. This is Dr. Vasudevan from the Institute of Analytics, USA. My question to you is, how much is data cleaning important in the context of the big data world that we are all living in?
Very important, right? Because we all know it's garbage in, garbage out. So if I don't put he said data cleaning.
Right.
Yeah. So if we don't put good data into the modeling, you're going to get something, and then who knows what that something is. So most students doing this, they will spend a considerable amount of time. First of all, there is a lot of missing data, as many of you know, and then we have to come up with good methods for imputing. And then lots of looking at the data from different points of view, checks and balances, right? Everything has to gel. We spend a lot of time making sure that the data is kosher before we trust and put it into a model. Yes.
There's a question there.
Good evening, and thank you very much for the talk. I have two questions. One is this, you mentioned that Intro to Data Sciences course. It's a preparatory course for your MS program, or is it a standalone course offered by the university?
In fact, this is a quickly generated course
Okay.
from the lessons learned from our pilot program. So this Intro to Data Science will be the first course that the master's students take after they enroll and come to the program. It will have basics of R programming, basics of Python coding, and what we think is the minimal math needed and statistics and CS ideas needed. For example, if I want to teach some inference, right? So if the students had not seen things like p-values or confidence interval estimation, now is when you will get to a quick primer on all that. And maybe computer science wants to teach support vector machines, so a little bit of linear algebra. So nothing in depth, because we don't have the time. This is just like a 14-week. So in that, we will think very hard and see what is going to be the stumbling block and try and put that into this Intro to Data Science course. Then, of course, if they still need some gaps, if there are still some gaps, the student has to work overtime when they take the advanced classes to fill those gaps.
So performance in the intro course is not necessarily a gateway to enroll for the MS program.
The Intro to Data Science is one of the courses, the 3 credits go into the 30 credits in our program. So if you get an A there, your GPA is higher.
Yeah, but if they fail, they are not thrown out of the program. If they have
we are hoping they don't fail, right? I mean,
sorry?
we are hoping they don't fail. This is like any other course. If somebody fails, but at least my experience this year has been they are extremely hardworking.
Okay.
And they are there to learn, they are there to make a career in this thing. And we have students from India, Pakistan, China, as well as United States. They are all working, and I also make students work very hard. So they're all working very hard.
It's not open for others.
Sir, can you, question, if she's available after the talk, you can
Okay,
interact.
fair enough. Thank you.
Because a lot of questions come on online, so, thank you for understanding, sir. Anybody else, please? One last question for the audience here, otherwise I'll go to audience online. We have more than 400 people watching it online. I got few questions, we'll try and accommodate as many as possible, madam. Okay. The first question is from Mr. Ramurthy from Chennai. He's talked about data collection. So how do you ensure the genuineness of the data which are not cooked up or unwanted, as the wrong data can really lead to a serious complication? How do you ensure, and did you envisage or come across an embarrassing situation with the wrong data and the result which you came out? He says, the data, how do you ensure the clarity of correctness of the data, genuineness of the data which is given to you? Data scientists will work on the data which is provided to them. But from the data collection point, how do you know the data is genuine, not genuine? Will you be able to identify them when you do the analysis?
You mean the firm is deliberately giving me wrong data? Then it's their problem, right? They are the ones that need the solution. I mean,
But you tell them-
we will look at, like I said, we look many ways to see whether for some reason, let's say the machine faulted or something. Yes, we will do lots of checks and balances. But I think if a firm works with me, I'm hoping that they are giving me, they are not falsifying the data. Let me put it that way. But that's actually a good question in the sense that we can, if we suspect that the data may be falsified, there are ways in which we can detect, yes. We can look for consistency maybe across time, and something that is, let us say, drastically in October if you see, or in January if you see a temperature of, outside temperature of 110 degrees or something, right? So yeah, maybe we can do some pattern recognition.
Yes.
But when we work with a client, we hope the client is genuine. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Sukumar from Coimbatore, he says, how do you address issues on multiple data source and multiple data source, data coming from different sources, and the data security?
Two different questions, right? So the multiple data stores is very easy. In fact, there is one word that you saw, it's called hierarchical. So our entire modeling strategy was, it can be a channel, right? There is data over time, and then there is channels. You can have retailers nested within stores nested within cities nested within states. We can start building hierarchies. So multiple those kinds of things we know how to handle. Data privacy, did you?
Yes, security.
Data,
no, which is a very critical thing today for the clients as well as for you.
Data security, that's a good point. At least in the clients that, at least with the IoT data, my university did not want to take responsibility for storing company data on our premises. So the company used to give laptops to us. So the people from the university who were working on the HSB data were working on HSB laptops. And then they connect directly to HSB servers. So all of our analysis is done on their machines. No data comes into the university.
Why this question he asked is, he says in the context of moonlighting, this is a serious issue, especially data science and passing on the data to a competitor.
Yeah, in a sense, most of this you can only access, the company makes sure that you can only access the data with their computer. You cannot pull out any data from there. You have to do the modeling within their system. So the provisions, the system's provided in such a way that even if you want to, you cannot take anything out of that data. So that they make sure so that your employee cannot pull the data out and do something with it.
And we also have to sign MOUs. I mean, there are very strict laws.
Yes.
And before I showed you guys all of this IoT stuff, this had to go through the HSB lawyers. Any talk we give, any publication, anything I say has to be vetted by the HSB lawyers, and before we even start the work, there has to be a contract that is signed by me saying, I will not divulge and stuff.
Agree, madam. When you work in US and India, your case go to the court, and then by the time the guy dies, maybe after 20 years he'll come up for hearing.
Yeah.
But it's good input, madam. Thank you so much. One last question. There got a number of questions. I'll try and squeeze in. This is from Ravishanker from Chennai. He says, madam, one issue what I feel most of the time happening is lack of clarity on business problem by the client. What exactly they want, they're not sure. And difficulty in locating skilled labor. These are two issues I face. Do you face similar issues in your place in US, and how can we solve this issue in India?
Dialogues, right? The first few weeks goes in a dialogue between the two parties. It is That is why perhaps you need an experienced person. Both Raj and I have over 30 years of experience thinking about this. So if somebody articulates something in English, you want to boil that down to a problem to be solved. And I think that happens through dialogue, I think. And skill. So if this person is trained as a data scientist, so I'm confident that the students, my PhD students, could sit across the table and grasp what the person is asking, translate it to a problem that can be solved, and then solve it.
Expertise,
Do you agree,
yeah.
Gopi?
No, most of our clients did not know what they wanted to solve.
True.
They had the data, or they might know what they want to solve, but they had no idea. So converting a management problem into a data science problem needs skills, and it requires, so when you have really good PhD students or professor, then the business owner could have, or the manager could have discussions with them, and it takes some time for you to define the data science problem, break the management problem. So it's not easy. It's fairly challenging. That's the most difficult part in my view. Of course, the data science is very critical, but converting a management problem into a data science problem requires skills and requires a lot of interactions, dialogue, and it takes some time. And once you narrow it down and clearly define the problem, then the solutions are very bang on. So when you implement it back into your company, you get exceptional results once you crack the code on that. Yeah.
Sure. Yes. Can you give a mic to Mr. Gopal?
Actually, Gopi, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the management problem needs to be translated. But talks like these, discussions like these, help management professionals in understanding what is solvable, how can it be done. They may not know the programming. I don't expect anybody to understand the programming, because then their entire, so if I'm a marketing guy or I'm a manufacturing guy, I know what I'm looking for from at least a broad view. And the more I'm able to drill down, because I attend things like this, I think
Very
it's
important.
that much easier for me and better value for the company.
True. Absolutely true. So one last question before I let you go, madam. We got another 2 minutes, so I could take that liberty to do that. And how do you get the value out of this? Is again Mr. Francis from Chennai only. How do you get the value out of data science, and what's your advice to the students who want to pursue a career in the field of data science? How they should prepare themselves for this?
I am a statistician who is half data scientist per my definition, so I would of course say it's very, very valuable. Yeah, I mean, the workplace needs data scientists. What more can I say, right? I mean, you know how things change. Once upon a time, physics was king, and then bio became king, and those kinds of things. And now everybody wants a trained data scientist. And that is why the universities are all responding by opening data science programs, including IIT Madras, right? And that says something. It means that there is a need, and therefore, if the students are willing to invest a year to year and a half of their time to study this, my suggestion would be that they find jobs.
Wait, ladies and gentlemen, big applause to our distinguished speaker. She made things so easy, and I'm quite sure each one of us, we were watching a program, would have become more wiser. As Mr. Gopal said, yes, you have to keep watching programs of similar nature. We got hundreds and hundreds of programs of similar one in our YouTube channel of MMA, and also our webinar, and also our magazines. I'm quite sure you should refer them, read them. I think it will make you more wiser and smarter. Idea is, unless you are wiser and smarter, you won't be able to even get into the data science issues and solve problem, because a lot of people say data is the new oil, but the sun is the new oil. Data is still there. Thank you so much. I request Mr. Gopal to please step forward and do us the honor of presenting. Mr. Gopal is our past president, presenting the memento. And Atesh, you can also join us on stage.
Before that, a small plug for IIT Madras. IIT Madras has an online data science program, completely online. People from any background can attend that. Currently, 10,000 people are enrolled. So, and this is nothing but what Nalini was repeatedly saying, the need to build capacity in data science. It is crucial in helping solve problems in the future, and anybody interested in this, and it's a completely online program. Thank you.